Storm of the winter season that could dump up to 6 inches of rain in parts of the North Bay. Meteorologist Mark Tamayo with KTVU in the Bay Area, our sister station, spoke with Brian Garcia with the National Weather Service about what you can expect if you're out there in the Bay Area.
Tuesday, we are awaiting a strong storm linked up with an atmospheric river approach in the Bay Area. And standing by, we have warning coordination meteorologist with the National Weather Service, Brian Garcia, standing by. And Brian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me.
So this is obviously, we haven't had much in the way of real storms this winter, but this one we're expecting to have huge impacts here in the Bay Area. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, you know, even in La Nina winters like we've had so far, where the storm track favors the Pacific Northwest, we can still get 1 or 2 whoppers of storms, and this one looks like the storm of the season for sure.
I'm going to quickly share my screen and just to bring up the satellite image for Tuesday, and just showing you this. As you take a look at the satellite, obviously we're seeing the clouds already moving in. Anything standing out to you from this certain perspective?
Yeah, just that the optical thickness of the clouds from where we are now, so kind of those higher thin clouds starting to roll in, and then you go back to behind all those clouds, they start getting a little spotty, the kind of the popcorn clouds back there. But right between that, there's some really optically thick clouds in there. And that's really what we're keen on for tonight, is that's an area of high moisture content. So in other words, we have a lot of water in there that we're going to be able to rain out as it passes over the Bay Area.
And so with this, you know, this strong pattern setting up, this strong storm, obviously we are concerned with a lot of rain in a short amount of time, flood potential, strong winds. You have wind advisories and high wind warnings. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, Mark. We have high wind warnings for pretty much the entire coastal areas. And if I can share my screen here really quick, I'll show you exactly where those are at. The high wind warnings are right along the coastal areas through most of the Bay Area, and then up in the Santa Cruz Mountains as well. So those are our high wind warning regions, including the tip there of the peninsula. San Francisco, you're under a high wind warning because you're just really exposed to everything. Every place else in the Bay Area across the interior is all wind advisory. So we could literally see wind gusts along the coast up into the 50 and 60 mile per hour wind, 50 to 60 mile per hour gust range. And then up in the hills and along the immediate coast, we could see some isolated spots where we clock 70 miles per hour, or even a little greater at times. Other areas are going to be more gusting in the 30s, 40s, and potentially into the 50s and 60s in some very key spots.
Okay, so, you know, obviously we have the strong winds increasing from the south and the rainfall. You were showing me, I don't know if you could share that, the forecast model, and it shows definitely kind of the defined time, a window of when that real intense rain moves in.
Yeah, correct, Mark. Yeah, this is a local model that we run in-house. And we can watch this going through the evening hours, late afternoon into the evening. So this is like 4 p.m. We start to see that rain spread across North Bay. And then as we get into the overnight hours, so as we get into more of that, 8, 9, 10 o'clock hours, you can see these bands, these streaks really streak across the region. And there are a few of them coming through. And if you can see that little red outline there, that's the Walbridge burn scar. And those bands are going to bring those heavy, intense precipitation rates. So these are going to be short-lived, high-intensity rain rates. So downpours are going to be happening around this time. So this is 11 o'clock, then midnight going through Marin County and Napa County, and then right on down across the Bay Area, and ultimately re-amplifying across the CZU and Santa Cruz County on its way down south. But once you get behind that rain band, you can literally go outside tonight and it'll be breezy, but you'll be able to look up and probably see some stars because we'll start getting breaks in the clouds. Regardless, we're still going to get showers after that, so we could see some pretty strong showers even behind that main band of rain.
And, you know, we talked a lot about the rain, and obviously that, and you're also mentioning the fire zones. Can you talk more about the flash flood watch? Because to me, this is the one where things could actually develop pretty quickly as we head into the overnight hours.
That's right, Mark. We've issued a flash flood watch for large portions of the Bay Area and covering a lot of the burn scars. So not only can we see the high intensity rain rates on the burn scars, posing a threat for post-wildfire debris flows, but we could also see some flash flooding off of burn scars. So kind of holistically looking, we are expecting a lot of land movement all over the place. So just on steep mountain roads, you'll probably see mud sliding down off the hillside onto the road. So couple this with the wind and then the rains and potentially post-wildfire debris flows. The short of the long of this is if you are on or near a burn scar and you are in a high-risk area for post-wildfire debris flow, your time to move to safe areas is today during the daylight. So you want to get out of that area and out of harm's way before it becomes harm's way, because once we issue a flash flood warning for these systems coming across the area, it will be too late to evacuate. You will have trees down, debris across the roads, power outages, potentially power lines down across the road. So you want to make sure that you're able to get yourself and your family to safety before any of this happens.
And so your office right now, this is a flash flood watch saying, okay, this possibly could happen. Be prepared. The warning, when you guys issue the warning, you're watching the latest radar observations and rain gauges. So that's coming out of your office, right? That's what determines the call.
Correct. Yeah. So the flash flood watch that you're seeing here is essentially like the ingredients to the cake. So we have the eggs out, the flour out, the sugar out. We have all the ingredients there in place. Now what we're waiting for is that actual band to come through to mix up all those ingredients and actually bake the cake. And once that cake is baked, that's when we're issuing that flash flood warning. So as things come together and we see it on radar and observations, so rain gauges out there, we'll be watching all of this through the night, and we'll be issuing flash flood warnings on those bands of rain that come through, so long as they meet the criteria for flash flood warning. But we expect these bands to far exceed the criteria for our flash flood warnings tonight.
So what happens if someone just goes to bed and all of a sudden these warnings start going off? I mean, they're kind of already behind the process to evacuate you, because you're saying
yeah, Mark, that's a really, really good question. So if you are on or near a burn scar in a susceptible area to post-wildfire debris flows, now is your time to take action. Because if you're right, Mark, if you're asleep in the middle of the night and you have your phone next to you, and if you have power, if your cell phone's charged, if it's on, all these things, you should have redundant forms of communication through the night. But if your phone goes off and you're getting a wireless emergency alert from us about a flash flood warning, you can literally have seconds to tens of minutes to get to a safe spot. And that safe spot at that point is going to be an upstairs elevated spot in your building, or potentially up a hill. And all you need to do is get up probably like 30 feet or 60 feet out of a drainage. And if you get up out of that drainage, you should be okay. But again, we don't even want you to think, am I going to be okay? We want you to know that you are going to be okay by making sure that you get yourself out of harm's way ahead of time. And those are specifically for those people in or near the burn scars.
And if you're not in or near the burn scar, are you still in a flash flood watch if you're covered in this green?
Yes, if you are still covered in a flash flood watch, typically in areas that haven't been burned, we don't see that amount of debris potential coming down hillsides. So in terms of like deep landslides, we're not too concerned about that because the soils are so dry. We expect the soils to be able to absorb a lot of this rain. But with those high intensity rains, you could get some water rushing down off the soils that just can't absorb it fast enough. So there could still be a flooding in your area. So your garage might get washed out, your lower floors might get water in it, your cars might see some water in it. So those types of things. But each of you knows where you live, and if you live kind of in a bowl in a depression, that's the area where it's going to be worst. If you live in kind of a canal that drains down, that's where it's going to be high rates of flow through your area. So know where you live and know what your hazards are for your spot.
Okay, Brian. Well, thank you so much for helping us out today. You know, it's amazing. We start out the day with lots of sunshine, but things quickly changing, and that seems like the main event is quickly moving in.
That's right, Mark. Thanks for having me again.
Okay, take care.
You too.
And we're going to stay on all of this weather news today, as it is one of the biggest stories that is breaking not only today but yesterday as well. I want to show you some of these shocking pictures and videos that we're getting from Storyful. That's what it's called. Take a look at this. Postal Service driver in Nebraska trying to get out of there, but we're going to head over to Arizona here momentarily. Wild, wild video. I do want to give you some news. Portions of 2 interstate highways were among multiple routes that remained closed this morning due to difficult driving conditions from winter weather in Arizona's high country. Winter storm warnings or advisories remained in effect in many parts of Arizona, and the National Weather Service said that heavy snow was falling from Flagstaff to Heber. Just wild, wild images here. In Nevada, higher elevation outlying areas of Metro Las Vegas got some light snowfall. Today, up to an inch was expected in some places before the storm was expected to taper off by midday. That's according to the National Weather Service. I'll show you this one. Video coming in from Tucson today. Large, large flakes of snow falling down, looking more like a winter wonderland these days than the typical sunny Arizona. What about Chicago? Snow plows trying to pave the way in highways out there in Chicago. And this one right here in Lake Michigan of Chicago. Now, I will say Chicagoans are a little more used to this weather than us out here in Arizona. It was very abnormal to be seeing this type of weather, even though it is January and typically wintry still in most places. Last but not least, here in Iowa. Blankets of snow covering all of the cars out there. I don't even see any plows trying to clear up those streets, but they are pretty much used to it, definitely in Iowa. Just wanted to give you all of these winter updates from across the country. I'm Daytona Everett here with News Now from Fox. All of those images coming to us from our Storyful account. We're going to be bringing you a lot more of those photos and videos from here on out on News Now from Fox. If you're new to us, typically what we do is we bring you to all these live feeds